What is going on, everyone? Griffin here, coming at you with some Dallas gameplay. And today I want to talk about, do video games in general need a meta? So let's head over and let's talk about it. So let's talk about meta in gaming for just a second, not just particularly for Rogue Company. Let's just talk about meta in general, because this kind of spurred this idea from a comment that I received on a video last week from Ollie Gamer about, a game being very boring if everything was balanced perfectly, if everything was fair, right? Basically, if everything was fair, more or less, that he felt that the game would be stale, boring, based off of playing a previous season of Fortnite where everything was balanced for like competitive play, ranked play, all that kind of stuff. So what does meta actually mean? So meta in gaming is used to describe the latest strategic methods and trends among those who play a particular game. It is particularly common for metagaming to occur in card-based or collectible games, as well as team-based multiplayer games where specific battlegrounds and arenas have their very own metagames. These metagames are typically influenced by the game developers themselves. That's because certain cards, arenas, or battlegrounds may often receive enhancements over time from the publishers. So basically what metagaming is, or what having a meta in a game is supposed to be this idea of like a strategic method for you to gain the upper hand on an enemy team, right? And what meta has kind of evolved into, especially in video games, is this weapon gets buffed. This weapon is the weapon. You can't win the game. You can't win your engagements. You can't win your gunfights unless you use this gun, right? And it's very interesting how things have developed over time, because when I first started playing multiplayer video games many years ago, there was a meta for the map. Whenever you played games like Gears of War, Halo, Unreal Tournament, Quake 3 Arena, you would have these paths that you would chart. You would have these things that you would do. You would have these gunfights and these engagements that would happen over these power weapons. And these power weapons were made very powerful on purpose because one person would pick them up at a time, and that would be it. Nobody else would have access to it until that person died and picked it up off of their body, or they ran out of ammo and the weapon eventually respawned. Now, you can go back and watch some of Scott Gandhi's old videos on YouTube talking about meta and rotations, particularly in Halo, because he was a competitive Halo player, to the point where the comp players had a timer set whenever they would pick up a power weapon that would basically notify them whenever the weapons would respawn. They had it down to a science where this is when these weapons would respawn, but you would still have to fight over those weapons. You weren't the only ones that knew what that spawn rotation was like. You weren't the only ones that had that path charted out. You weren't the only team that was focusing on this shotgun or RPG or sniper meta that was happening in that game. Both teams were well aware of it. Both teams fought over it, and the team that won the engagement won the power weapon, and it gave them the upper hand moving forward in that match. Now metagaming is, let's buff this weapon. Let's sell a bunch of skins for it. Let's sell a bunch of blueprints for it. Let's force almost the entire player base into running this particular weapon. And that way they feel like that they are good players. They feel like that they are doing everything that they need to do to be successful in the game. It's very hand-holding on one side where, you can sell this thing. It's like pay to win, right? We're getting to that point where things are pay to win. You can sell this blueprint with all these attachments on it that you absolutely need to be the number one person on your squad, the number one person in your lobby. You have everything that you need right here at your disposal. Just give us $15 and you can have that immediately. You don't have to change anything. You don't have to tune anything. You just have it and you're ready to roll. And it feels very handholdy. It feels very pay to win. And it just doesn't feel like it's a very good game balance, in my opinion. It's getting to the point now where metas exist in games where it's like, from a competitive standpoint, you have these playmakers, you have these people, these coaches, you have these people that develop these really specific metas around very specific maps. You have team comps that are considered meta. You have characters that are considered meta. You have weapons that are considered meta. And I know that you're never going to get away from that idea of like, these particular groups of people together that are playing a very specific way is going to be very, very powerful, and the team needs to know how to combat that. That is a strategic meta. But meta, in the overall broad sense of the term that I'm using it here, is having something that is blatantly overpowered, that the developers created as overpowered in order to profit off of that. And that, to me, is lazy, it's uninspired, and it's just absolutely unnecessary for any type of game moving forward, like any game whatsoever. If you want to be this powerful, you'll buy this deck of cards, you'll buy this game book, you'll buy this weapon skin, you'll buy this whatever it is, insert whatever it is here. And that's turning everything into pay to win. And that doesn't feel good for anybody whatsoever. And I don't like that whatsoever. I just don't like the idea of we're going to make something super powerful. And the idea that a developer has said to me before that, well, having a meta in a game isn't a bad thing. Well, you're right. But the metas should be something that occur naturally over time. It shouldn't be the developers trying to force a meta into the game. It should be the developers balancing the game out, making sure that any weapon that the players want to play with is viable, and then it come down to player skill, player decision, team comp, map layout, rotations, everything. Like, that's where the meta comes in my opinion. You give the players the tools that they need to be able to perform at the best that they can perform at, and you let them make those crucial decisions so that they feel good about the decisions that they made. Because if I'm playing a game and I'm playing against a team that's running all of these very specific weapons, and then I'm getting completely destroyed because I'm not running the weapons that I need to be running in order to try to even attempt to win a gunfight, so then I have to swap over to that. That's making a choice for me. That's me. That's the game forcing me, regardless of what game it is, forcing me into making a choice that I don't want to make in order to even be relevant in the gunfights moving forward. That sucks. I don't like that whatsoever. The entire industry needs to look at game design. They need to step back, take a look at game design, and really sit down and think about what an actual meta is, what an actual meta looks like, how they want to present an actual meta moving forward, what kind of player choice and player decisions can be made in order to influence that meta, other than buying the blueprint, other than equipping this very overpowered weapon that hasn't been nerfed all season because there's a new $20 skin in the game. They need to take the idea of the developers creating a meta out of the developers' hands. They need to give the players those tools and let the players develop those metas. That's what needs to happen. I get the idea of mobile games, and the idea of mobile games is you want to hook players in with a very, very, very addictive gameplay loop. You want to pull them in, and you want to extend time whenever they're playing the game, so that either A, they pick it up, they play it, they set it down, they don't worry about it for a day or two, then they pick it up and they continue playing, or you're going to have those people, whales, that are going to be like, well, I don't want to wait that long, I'm going to invest in, insert whatever, currency or whatever it is in the game here, so that they can make that stuff happen a lot faster. People have taken the idea of having a gameplay experience like that, and they are trying to inject that into video games, like console and PC based video games, as much as humanly possible. What can we do as developers to monetize this game better? Well, we can make a very, very powerful weapon buff to a very specific weapon. We can put multiple skins out for that weapon. We can offer operators or characters that come with that weapon. We can offer all of this crazy stuff that players, even if they don't have the weapon unlocked, can immediately unlock the weapon, immediately equip the weapon, and immediately feel like that they are doing something meaningful in the game. There's no player progression. There's no skill progression. There's nothing like that. Players want immediate satisfaction. I've really recognized that over my time playing Rogue Company. If the match or if the game isn't going the way that the enemy team wants it to go, 9 times out of 10, they're going to start losing players. And sometimes the backfill works and sometimes it doesn't. But at the end of the day, they start leaving the match because it's not going their way. There's no increase in skill whenever someone does that. There's no increase in knowledge. There's no increase in learning counters to this. It's one match out of thousands of matches that you've played. If you can at least learn how to combat something very specific in this match, then you're automatically going to be a better player. But people don't want that. They want immediate satisfaction. They want to be able to go into the game and dump $10 on something and have whatever that is, whatever this powerful thing is, and be the best on the team, the best in the match, the best overall in the game. They want that satisfaction, and it doesn't feel good. It's from a player that wants to play everything, from a player that wants to experience everything that a game has to offer, from all the different types of weapons to all the different types of gadgets to all the different types of perks. As a player that wants that experience, I am suffering as that player because it's putting me into a position to where I can't experience that stuff because the developers are creating a false meta. And that's what it is. Developers are creating a false meta in order to profit off of that. And we've all given into it. Call of Duty made $3 billion in 2020 alone. It was an afterthought battle royale that they released at the right time that made $3 billion just simply off of the idea that if you want to be powerful in game, you will pay $20 for this weapon skin with these attachments on it. That to me is absolutely insane. But that's the current state of gaming right now. I think something really needs to be done. I think the developers need to stop trying to force this fabricated meta onto the players and allow the players the freedom to create their own metas and their own experiences when they're playing the game. But be sure to let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm very interested to hear what everybody thinks because this is a very against the grain, very different kind of video where it's like, here are the meta things, here are the fabricated meta things. Here's what the meta actually means. Here's what the meta should actually be. The meta should actually be what the player decides to do, their team comp, and their knowledge and skill of the game. That's the team. That's the meta. That is making the meta right there, not having an overpowered weapon in the game. Be sure to let me know what you think in the comments down below. Also, be sure to check that description for links to Facebook, Discord, and Twitter. Those are the places to contact me. If you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel, then consider hitting that join button to become one of the 256 crew members. Lastly, on Thursdays around 11 p.m. Central Time and Sundays around 10 a.m. Central Time, I will be streaming here on YouTube. So if you are interested and available, please feel free to stop by and say hello there. Thanks for watching, guys.
I have incendiaries. I'm gonna try to push.
Where's open?
No, on the door.
I'm in the door.
Nobody's on B.
Max in the back over here.
I'm planting the bomb. Bomb's active. Don't let them disarm it.
I'm dead. Nope.
That fat fuck goes.
I'm fucking. He behind us. Behind us.
No! God damn it! The bullet! Literally a bullet! Fuck!